let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave. Frank from Cleveland. Couple things. Seems like Stefanski's like sort of coaching his way out of Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? By not having a team prepared, still getting all the penalties. Maybe that giant job looking attractive to him with Jackson Dart over there. Number two, I would promote Jim Schwartz, head coach, / he got to retain the defensive coordinator job. I'm telling you, hand the reins over to offensive coordinator, run the show, that kid Tommy Reese. And then I would keep Barry. I don't know, a lot of people don't like Barry, but I do. All right, Dave, let me know your thoughts, brother. God bless you, and I hope you're getting prepared for the holidays, and I'll be in touch.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Pete, it's kind of interesting. There are all kinds of thoughts out there. What are your thoughts relative to Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Barry?
I've said all along, you don't need a justification to fire them. I wouldn't. And look, just addressing what the caller's talking about, the first quarter of that game was ugly, and the penalties don't look great. But penalties have not been a conversation for several weeks. This was a whole thing early in the year with a young team. Everybody kept complaining, oh, they're undisciplined. They've basically become a middle-of-the-pack team in terms of penalties, and the preparation has been better. They've got young guys who are figuring it out, and by and large have been. They're getting better. They're not great, and they certainly need more talent, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. But, I don't understand how this team gets better by just removing Kevin Stefanski and keeping everything else. And I run into this a lot. There are a whole lot of people who do not want to lose the assistant coaches on this team, but want to make a change. And I'm just left to believe that they don't really want to change anything other than maybe they don't like how Kevin Stefanski does press conferences or any of that other stuff, but they just want this group to do better. And if they stick it out and can do the things they need to do on offense, get a line, get another premium receiver, figure out a better quarterback situation, they will win games. And if they do it really, really well, if they were to knock it out of the park the way they sort of did with this past offseason, they have a chance to not only just be a better team, they're a team that's going to potentially compete for the playoffs. That's how they've sort of set this thing up. Now, it's a huge amount of pressure for them to deliver, but that is the thought process. But I run into this a whole lot with people who are just like, I want to get rid of one guy but keep everybody else, and that's not really how it works. And I certainly don't want Jim Schwartz to be the head coach of this team. And even with him, look, I think Jim Schwartz is a very good coordinator, but whether it was the Titans game or certain things, I largely credit the Chicago Bears offense for executing as opposed to the Browns defense being bad, and they had some injuries and stuff. But there are times when people get very frustrated with Jim Schwartz as a coordinator as well, and you're ultimately just going to get to a point where you're just mad at him instead of mad at Stefanski.
Yeah, I guess the question I have is, if you're going to replace Jim Schwartz, you hear Brian Flores, you hear Robert Saleh.
Oof.
What's the difference between those two guys and Jim Schwartz? They've both had shots at head coaching, haven't done well. They're defensive coordinators who are doing well. I don't see the real difference between them. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Well, I'll just go to the Brian Flores point, and people seem to have amnesia with this. When he was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, he terrorized Tua Tagovailoa. Every day he told him how awful he was. He was pissed that he wasn't Justin Herbert. This was a huge problem, and it ultimately cost him his job. He was a really good defensive coach. They got rid of him. They obviously brought in Mike McDaniel, and Mike McDaniel had a ton of success with Tua. But you cannot have a head coach do that. And you're talking about a team that needs to fix the offense and needs to get a young quarterback, and that's the guy you're talking about hiring. And you can tell me, oh, he's learned and all these other things. That is a terrifying prospect to be like, yeah, I want to hire the guy who terrorized the young quarterback he had the last time he was a head coach.
Well, when you put it like that, it doesn't make a lot of sense.